We're now going to move on to Alderman Position number 2. This is Mary Ann Gibson and Mary Chick Hill running against each other in an open seat. And by coin toss, Mary Chick Hill gets the first question. And I'm going to start with the schools again. Mary, surprise, surprise. So say the school board comes to you and says, don't forget to turn on your microphone. And also I'm being told that folks in the lobby are having a little bit of trouble hearing the candidates, so make sure you speak close to the microphone if possible.
Yes, sir.
They come to you and say, we need your help. We need a tax increase or we need a bond issue to help pay for some schools that need some capital improvements in a pretty bad way. Where's your vote?
Now, who's coming to me to say that? The parents or the school board?
You'll probably hear from both, but use school board as my...
All right. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. For 30 years, I've worked at FedEx. I'm a senior instructional developer. I develop training and processes for aircraft mechanics around the world. And one thing beautiful about working for FedEx is you don't throw money and people at problems. It's magical. We have a system called Lean Process Improvement. I'm a black belt in that. And over the last few years, I have saved FedEx over $12 million a year by looking at processes, working with my customer, which are the mechanics, or maybe it's the quality assurance department, and looking at processes, and by removing waste and looking at what we're doing now and looking for opportunities to improve our process, we are able to save money and we remove the waste, and you get where you want to be without throwing the money bomb or throwing people at problems. So the first thing I would say is, let's look at the processes. What first do you want? Why do you say this? And let's look at the bottom line to see why you need this money. To me, that's the first thing I would do. And you throw money and people at the problem as a last resort. Thank you.
All right, Mary Ann, my question, how would you vote if that was if that issue comes before you?
I think that it's clear with our new school district that there are going to be needs that we are not able to anticipate. As a new district, whether it's from facilities to the maintenance of those facilities to curriculum-based needs, we as a board of mayor and aldermen are going to have to be receptive and responsive and work collaboratively with our school board. So initially I would say that I would look at any proposal that school board came to me in good faith and said that they needed. I would look very carefully at that and make that assessment at the time.
Okay, awesome. Also regarding the school district, there's a lot of talk, as you know, about the 3Gs too, and that may also come up before the alderman in one capacity or another. And I just want you to weigh in on what you see as your role as an alderman to be able to affect that and which way you're leaning.
I think as aldermen, we are the voice of the community. We speak for the citizens, and I don't think there's a person in this town that is not supportive of those 3G schools. Our aldermen are, I believe, the front runners of what that relationship will look like with Shelby County schools. Building those bridges of keeping that open line of communication is important. I think that it will be critical. I do think, however, moving forward, our school board will be the one that will be in direct negotiations. But again, as an advocate for those schools, I'm a graduate of Germantown High School, proud Red Devil, but also a Houston mom. Raised 3 children through those schools. And what I know is that we love all of our schools, all 8 of those schools. And as an elected alderman, I'm going to not just give voice only. I want my actions to speak that I'll be in support of those schools.
Mary, your position.
Okay, there you go. I think we should do whatever we can to get those 3 schools back. I think it's very important to the community. The folks that live south of Poplar, they don't have a neighborhood school. We need to do everything in our power to get them. Leave no stone unturned. There may be options we haven't even looked at, and by bringing fresh blood onto the Board of Aldermen, there may be options that come up where we can collaborate and find ways to bring those schools back into the system, and I would fully support that.
Let's move from schools now to smart growth. Can't tell you how many questions about that, especially when it comes to Old Germantown and the 2020 plan, concerns over a major thoroughfare linking Winchester to Old Germantown and Saddle Creek in order to qualify for state funding to build that road. Do you support the plan as it is, or would you like it modified, and if so, how?
The Smart Growth Plan was done, I believe, around 2005, 2006. I believe what needs to be revisited and looked at. And I think it really needs to be gone over with a fine-tooth comb, because as people see what's happening and the results of the smart growth, they're having buildings in their backyard. They realize more congestion is going to come, and it's also going to bring higher density into Germantown. And we are a single-family residential community, and that's our, that's what we're about. That's our culture, and we have to protect that. So as far as being supportive of smart growth, there are aspects that I would support, but I think it's important that we bring in the voice of the citizens and the residents and the neighborhood people that are especially associated with this, and involve them actively before we make any definite more changes to do with smart growth.
In your views, Mary Ann?
The Smart Growth Plan came out of the Vision 2020 process, which was completely citizen-based. It was overseen by our mayor and board of aldermen, but it was a citizen-led commission that said, what do we want Germantown to be 5 years, 10 years, 30 years later? What is that going to look like? That smart growth process, that plan, there are some really key elements that I believe can make us, again, the premier community. We have to be unique. It's one of the things that sets us apart from our surrounding areas. We look differently than our neighbor to the west, and really even to our neighbors to the east. It is because of our signage, our design review process. Those things make us unique. Smart growth sets us apart in that we do have to look forward as far as what it's going to be. Someone told me that God's not making any more land in Germantown. That's a true statement. So we have to be very smart about how that growth occurs. And again, it's not just a coined term, smart growth. We have to act deliberately and reasonably in how that growth occurs. And I believe that the smart growth process is a first start. It is an active and fluid process, and at every level there will be citizens' opportunities to be heard. I don't expect anything less moving forward.
Next question came from a voter 2 days ago in my email box. Mayor Goldsworthy will have served 5 four-year terms when she retires. It's the passing of a guard. Do you support an effort to have the Board of Aldermen limit the mayor to 2 consecutive 4-year terms? Why or why not? And will either of you commit to serve no more than 2 terms?
I would put that decision in the hands of the voters. I believe that term limits limit what the citizens want, and they will speak with their vote. I believe that our mayor served honorably, faithfully to the citizens of Germantown, and I think that what I would want as an alderman is to be able to speak with as much grace as she has. As far as term limits for aldermen, again, I believe that it's for the people to decide.
Mayor Chick-Hill.
I agree with Mary Ann on that. Thank you for your service, Mayor Goldsworthy. Great job. We appreciate that. I do believe that the citizens should decide, but sometimes I think that also people need to return to the communities and live with the laws that they've helped create. And our forefathers refused to have, unlimited time in office. So there's 2 schools of thought on that. but I'm totally with letting the residents decide on term limits. That decision shouldn't come from this level at all. Thank you.
Next question has to do with, I guess, zoning and code enforcement would be the best way to describe it. Some folks fear that we're slipping a little bit in our well-known history of strict code enforcement. They complained to me about seeing more lawns and shrubbery fences in violation of code enforcement, trailers and driveways, and even a new Orange Bank of Bartlett building as evidence or examples of this. They're not happy about it. They don't like the clear cutting of trees for the new grocery store, Wild Oats, and also some of the recent strip malls that have been built around town. Do we need a recommitment to stricter code enforcement in your view? Why or why not?
Well, I think we need, as a board alderman, I will certainly support code enforcement with whatever they need to enact in the codes. And I think they need the support of the Alderman Committee, and they need to be encouraged. But we also might even look at somehow educating the residents on what the codes are. I think maybe some people just don't realize what the codes are, and it passes them by, and they're just not aware of it. But I would certainly support enforcing codes, and strict code enforcement is what keeps Germantown's culture where it is and keeps our culture and residents so nice as they are.
Mary Ann Gibson, are you concerned about any slippage there or not?
I think that we do with our Council of Neighborhood Associations, they do an excellent job of educating homeowners and what is required, what are those rules, what are those regulations. Because again, at the end of the day, we're all neighbors. We want to be good neighbors to each other, and we want to make certain that there is a level of expectation that when you come down our street, or whether you enter our western or eastern gateway, that we look distinctive and unique. And so our citizens can help in that way. Code enforcement, I know that the resources that are in that department, I think that they can be a little slim right now. I know that they've had some transition as far as employees. I think that that's something that I'd like to look more closely with our administration. As far as the clear cutting, one of the things I had this song in my head, the pave paradise and put in a parking lot, and that's not what we in Germantown want to do. There's going to be needs when we have our new development that will come in. That's going to happen, but by planting in the lushly landscaped areas, I believe that we can really make things look in a way that we as Germantown citizens would be proud of.
So following up on that, how would you as alderman how would you hope to distinguish your career if elected and have that office? Would it be initiatives such as code enforcement or clear cutting? When you look at yourself holding that office, and you can talk about education, crime, whatever issue, where are the issues that you see most important that you really hope to make a difference if elected?
Richard, I've spent the last 20 years making a difference in the areas that spoke to me. I've served with our Parks Commission for the last 10 years plus. I've been in schools as a PTA mom, served with many of those in the audience here. Whether it's my faith family, parks, education, that's where I've spent my time. I don't expect that to change as alderman. I think that we enjoy a quality of life here because of our exceptional neighbors that are willing to spend the work that's required to make things successful, our programs and our services. Again, we are fortunate to work with some of the most exceptional volunteers and staff that I would hold up against any other municipality in the country.
Mary, where is it that you see you can make a difference? Why is it that you, in your heart, want to run?
The reason I ran was because I had talked to people throughout the community that had not felt they were being heard at City Hall. And there are areas of town that have drainage problems. They've got apartments, multi-use built construction going on in their neighborhoods, and they're very concerned. What I want to bring to Germantown is be the voice of the people. I want people to be able to contact me, my email, my phone number, they're on my website, they're on my Facebook, with their concerns. And when they come with a concern, I want the citizens of Germantown to feel like they've been heard, and that I want to work with them on their proposals, their solutions to address these problems. My biggest concern right now is, besides, of course, the schools, we need to totally support the municipal schools and support that, but also the density. Germantown's a single-family residential community, and we've only got 19 square miles, and we've got 40,000 people. We're going to someone with strong leadership needs to be here and work with the citizens to make sure Germantown is not overbuilt. And to me, that's the reason I'm running. Thank you.
Let me ask about crime and public safety. Do you feel that Germantown is doing everything it can to continue to be one of the safest cities, not only in the state, but the country? And would you like to see more officers added? If not, what do you see would be the solutions? Or are you content pretty much with how the police department is being run right now?
I'm very impressed with Germantown Police Fire Department. Very well run. I'm totally in favor of giving them all the support they need to stay ahead of crime. Considering where we are located geographically, we've got to stay on top of the crime. Germantown can stay safe. We can promote more safety even, but I'm totally for promoting and supporting the police and fire department, whatever it takes.
Mary Ann, your thoughts on public safety in Germantown?
I think we have an exceptional police force. Chief Hall does, with the 88 officers that he has under his authority and control, I think he does exceptional work. Our police force has been recognized on almost every level of leadership, what their policies and procedures are. As far as do we need more officers? I think that is enough. That I would leave that up to our chief. I'm certain that again we would work with him if he needed resources that we didn't currently have.
One question from the audience, would like the candidates to answer. We'll throw it out there. We all make mistakes. Please share a mistake you've made in your professional career. You first.
Interesting, and I would be the first one to get that. I am a realtor by trade. I would say probably one of the most interesting mistakes that I made would be, I can't believe that this is a question, but as I look to my broker, who is the owner of our family business, I have to chuckle. I went to a closing 2 days before it was supposed to happen. So that may be the worst thing that I've done.
Not bad. Not bad. Mary?
Gosh, that is tough. I agree with you. I'm glad you got it first. Well, I'm sure I make mistakes every day. Let me see. What's some of them? Where to begin? At work? Does it have to be work? My boss might be here. I don't know. I guess my biggest mistake at work is probably not being more confident of myself. I don't know about y'all. I was raised Irish Catholic, and it's always trying to be do the next right thing. And maybe sometimes I need to be more confident in what I do. And traveling and meeting with mechanics around the country, I probably know more than I think I know. And I think everybody probably has that. We have so many more talents and gifts than we realize. So I'm probably too hard on myself.
Very good. Guns and parks. Where do you stand on that issue? And will you lobby the Tennessee legislature to keep guns out of Germantown parks?
I am for the present ordinance as it stands. The citizens of Germantown, I believe, do not want guns in parks. So I think that is an issue we need to turn over to the residents of Germantown and let them make that decision on whether we have guns in parks or not. I think it's great to bring any legislation to local control you can. I think the more we locally control our own laws and our own city, the better. So I'm for the present ordinance, and I think we need, if it were to change at some point, I think it needs to be changed locally, certainly not by the state legislature in any way.
Okay. Mary Ann.
In the summer of 2009, as vice chairman of the Parks and Rec Commission, this very question came before us, and I very vocally was against guns in our parks. It did come up with some opposition, but I felt after having spent 40-plus years in Germantown, many of those in our city's parks, whether it was with our children or with other groups, guns do not have a place in our parks. This past year, the Tennessee state legislators put forth a bill that would have taken away local control for us to make that decision. I actively and adamantly opposed that. I believe that it is up to us as citizens to make that determination for ourselves. I do think that, again, knowing where we are, if we have issues that are happening in our parks, that we'll work with our police chief to make sure that we address that.
Very good. We've come up on time for closing remarks, and by the coin toss, Mary Chick-Hill, you go first with your 90 seconds.
Okay. Germantown, I feel, is a fabulous place to live. I feel like Germantown is like the crown jewel in this area of the country. We have wonderful parks, recreation, safety, anything anybody could want, okay, in this community. We have low density, and we have a unique culture here. The low density and the single-family residential culture needs to be protected. Overbuilding can cause problems. As Germantown moves forward and we explore more opportunities to make Germantown even greater, I think we need two things. We need leadership that's prepared to ask the hard questions, and the citizens need the ability to give input and have a voice in City Hall. I will be your voice. I believe that the people that live and work in Germantown and are affected by the changes are the ones who need to be helping make the decisions on what happens in Germantown. I have that experience at FedEx for doing it for 30 years, collaborating with the people I serve to come up with the best solutions and the best answers. If you vote for me, you vote for yourself, a voice in City Hall. Thank you.
Mary Ann, your closing remark.
We're moving into the home stretch of this campaign season, and while this part is new to me, the work of talking to people who care about our city and want it to be better is not new to me at all. I grew up here. My parents moved here in the 70s, and my husband Steve and I, we've raised our 3 children in the same home that we bought over 20 years ago, and we bought that home so we could walk our kids to school. Our neighbors have become family. We've taught our children that it's not only their responsibility, but it's really their duty to become involved and support our city in ways that are meaningful and right and true. And that's what I've done for these last 20 years as a resident, as an adult here. I served on the 23-member Unified School Board at a time when it was without question a tumultuous time. I did that because I wanted my children, I wanted your children to be able to come home and raise their family here in Germantown. And I knew that they couldn't do that without an educated workforce to support those jobs that would come. My vision for our city has been shaped by having grown up here. We're a community of neighbors, caring for each other, working side by side. I love this place that we call home, where neighbors are family. I'll continue to work hard, and I'll assure you that for every vote that comes before me, I'll work to make certain that I look through the prism of what's in the best interest for all of Germantown. I'm Mary Ann Gibson, and I'd be honored to have your vote.
Let's thank the ladies from Alderman Position 2.